Welcome to another episode of the Nick and Jimmy Show. I'm Jimmy, this is Nick, and on today's episode we have Angelo Rubino. Angelo, welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for taking time out of your schedule.
So tell us, Angelo, who are you, what's your story, what do you do exactly?
Rubino Shoes, my dad started the company. So I'm 33. I like to describe myself as a lawyer. I'm a lawyer by trade. So I became a lawyer at 23. And I joined the family business in 2011. Mm-hmm. So I came back full-time in the family business, which you guys could imagine, like it's a family business. So I was involved in the shoe business at a very young age. 8-9 years old, I started working in my dad's stores. To 2011, I came back to the family business on a full-time basis. I have a twin brother who's also a lawyer and who never left the business. So I left the business after 2008, I graduated law school. I went to the bar school. I passed the exam by the grace of God. I wasn't a very, very good student. And you know what? I decided to practice law for about 2 years. I went into litigation, which gave me an edge. I like to argue a lot. And after 2011, my family needed some support and help in the family business. That's when I came back at full-time basis in the family business.
Awesome. Good.
So Rubino Shoes, I guess, as you guys know, we sell shoes, but we're more of a real estate
I was about to
business.
say that.
So people, like, we own most of the properties where we have our stores. Today we have about 30 Rubino stores, brick and mortar, 1 online store, and we're opening another 5 stores in the upcoming
That's
months.
only in Quebec or all over Canada?
We're only in Quebec for now.
Why only Quebec?
Well, I mean, like, we started in Quebec. That's the province that we know. There's the language barrier also in Quebec. So a lot of retailers from outside are scared to come to Quebec. It's a very different market. We understand this market more than anybody. So for us, like, to go to Ontario, which we did in the past, we were in Ontario about like 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
It didn't work out quite well. It wasn't the same technologies as we have today. It wasn't the same business. And it didn't work out very well for us. Maybe one day, but we like to focus in Quebec, and we're very present in the regions. That's where we've had a lot of success. So when we started opening up Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Granby, all those like areas, Joliette, that's when we started really scaling, where, you know, there wasn't much competition then. We were selling branded footwear, so we were the branded footwear destination in Granby. I mean, there was no other stores that were selling all the brands. Okay. It was a one-stop shop for the whole family. So our targeted client was a woman that has kids. So she comes in with her kids. Kids always need shoes. It's back to school soon. You guys could imagine it's a busy season for us. And winter season, you know, they need to upgrade their gear every year. So the kid drives our business and the women. So the men's business is very... Maybe you guys would be good clients, but I don't think I've seen you in the stores yet. Hopefully soon.
And why did your family start in the shoe business? Why the shoe business out of all businesses?
That's a great question. My dad, who's an immigrant, Italian, came to Canada and he was living with his sister, Rosetta. And my aunt and my uncle started the cinemas. So my uncle, Angelo Guzzo, started in the cinema industry. And my dad used to work with them, and he was like a manager, and they had also a nightclub which was called L'Astre 5. Maybe this is gonna ring a bell to a few Eastern boys. So my dad used to run the club at night, and during the day the cinema that was attached. That's in St-Leonard, La Cordaire. So he was involved with them. Then when he got married to my mom, he said, like, I gotta do something for myself. I don't want to be an employee for the rest of my life. So he decided to go to the shoe industry by pure, like, I guess, mistake, because like he didn't know what he was getting into. At the time, there was a lot of independents in Quebec, and they were doing very well, especially some Italian companies that were doing extremely well. So he started like importing shoes from Italy, and back then it was La Lira. So you would bring shoes from Italy. The margins were great. There was not a lot of competition. There was no online. So he started about 30 years ago. And today it's completely different than when he started. So we were more like a private import. Italian shoes. Now we sell only branded footwear, from athletics like Nike, Converse, Adidas, to more like upscale branded footwear like Michael Kors, etc.
Very nice. So you have a twin brother, right?
Yes.
So how can you decide who's president and vice president?
Actually, that's a very good question. You know, we have also a younger sister, Sabrina, who's 5 years younger. So I'm 33, my sister's 28, I guess. She studied in marketing. So it was quite simple, like you'll become like VP marketing. So she takes care of the photo shoots, visuals, the marketing, mostly content creation.
Okay.
And my brother was always involved in the business. So he never left like I did. For 2 years, I worked in a law firm. So it was kind of natural for him because he never left the company and he stayed there through thick and thin. So when my dad decided to like resign from the shoe business, he's the one that named my brother president, and I was completely okay with it. As a matter of fact, it's so freaking great to be like the second, you know? You know, when you're the goalie, there's nobody behind you to catch up your mistakes. So there's a lot more pressure. I guess my brother has a lot of pressure. For me, I do like the social, I go around, I take care of operations. So I usually coordinate with the stores. I speak to the DMs, district managers, the managers. I'm very involved in the stores. My brother's mostly at the office and he does care like mostly the financing and the buying. So there's a good balance, and it's about realizing your qualities. And I was very happy that my brother's in charge. And like I said, there's something comforting about being the second, you know, less pressure, same pay.
So there's no like jealousy or anything?
Not at all.
Perfect.
He's the guy for the job. He's very like meticulous. My brother's very driven. He's a hardworking guy, very serious. And you know, I'm more outgoing. So I think we're a great mix in the family. So it's a very like family business.
Good.
And we help out. We help each other out. We
Very
support
nice.
each other. It's not always easy, guys. Huh? There's a lot of misunderstandings and.
Of course.
But you know, we have big projects coming up, big real estate development. I actually have a meeting today with my family with a big developer in Montreal.
Okay.
So I can't say we're a big developer, but we mingle with very big developers here in the city, and we come in, and for us it's easy to do real estate for commercial purpose because we already have our shoe stores that's going to become that we can rent space. And then there's we're involved with Mr. Puffs. You guys are Greek, right? You know,
Of course,
Kumada.
yes.
So we're involved with them, and we own 2 franchises right now. We're opening a franchise soon in Three Rivers.
It's working really well.
We're doing extremely well, actually. So there's 4 Mr. Puffs in our buildings. So for us, we have the contacts. That's why we started also in the restaurant industry. The first time we opened an Allô Coco was in St-Leonard on La Cordère des Grandes Prairies because we owned that property, and we had a tenant that left, which was another chain, and it was scary, you know. They used to pay $150,000 rent a year. So when you lose a tenant like that, you better find another good tenant. And we approached the Allô Coco guys, and Mr. Tom Bontis saw the space and he was like not too sure. It was a big space. It was 6,500 square feet for a breakfast place. It's really big. So he was like not too sure. He didn't know if St-Leonard was the right fit. So we're like, we'll buy the franchise and we'll operate it. So I thought I could be like Greek for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have relatives in the restaurant industry.
They say una faccia, una razza, right?
Una faccia, una razza. That's true. It's 100% true. So we opened that store that ended up being super successful. So we opened the second one that was in Galeries D'Anjou. After a year of operation, we sold it. And lately in February 2019, we sold the one in St-Leonard. So we just, at the end of the day, we wanted a tenant, right? So we opened the store, it's operating, it's doing very well. And my job was done there. So I operated that store for a little while. It's crazy. The restaurant business, very tough.
Of course.
And what is your opinion on commercial real estate? Because at the end of the day, if the economy is good, it's great. You know, businesses are coming in. But if the economy is not doing so good and businesses start closing, then you start losing income, right?
Listen, it's a great question. But right now, if you refer to like commercial as brick and mortar, 90% of transactions are still done in a brick and mortar store. So online will never take over. Like the brick and mortar, you have that personalized experience. You walk in a store, that's never gonna die off. What's really tough right now, it's like those big main malls.
Retail.
And retail that, the rents are crazy.
Yeah.
We had a restaurant at Galeries D'Anjou, so I know the rents. We had the Allô, Coco in Galeries D'Anjou. The rent was about $30,000 a month. So for 4,000 square feet. So you can imagine like your rent should be 8 to 10% of your gross sales. So that store had to sell 3-4 million a year for it to be profitable. So if you're a national brand or international, H&M, Zara, and you open in Carrefour Laval, it's okay, right? Because you got the exposure, you've got the branding, and these people, some of them don't even care if the store breaks even. For me, it's not a model that I can sustain. So we open in suburban areas, banlieue, les régions du Québec. So we're able to buy a piece of land, build for ourselves, and pay rent to ourselves. And we try to amortize the building in a few years, 10 years, and the building is paid, and then you're paying rent to yourself. So if it becomes a bit harder, if the sales go down, then you could play with the rent and say, you know what, let's give a little decrease in the rent. And that's how we survived, guys. So I feel like it's not hard. Maybe in the city, there's a lot of competition. There's so many retailers, but outside, it's pretty an open canvas. There's so much to develop, and there's so much potential. There's big cities like 100,000, 150,000 people. So sometimes you think I'll go on St. Catherine, and that's where the people are. But if you look at the rents and the sales that you got to do, is it worth it to do all this work, and then on your bottom line you're losing money?
Exactly.
So for us, we only have one urban store, which is on the Plateau, Mont-Royal, and we own the building there. It's Papineau in Mont-Royal. That was a great acquisition. We have the apartments upstairs, and we created a little space for a Mr. Puffs, which we own and operate with partners, and we pay rents to ourselves. Life is beautiful. That's the end goal, is to the first of the month collect your rent and maybe be on the beach somewhere and not have to worry about anything.
Passive
so that's
income.
the end goal. That's the end goal.
100%.
So that's why we're in commercial real estate, where you don't have to deal with clients, and you don't have to deal with, you can just stay there, maintain your property, keep it nice, neat. We like to have our project very mint and collect the rent.
Very nice. What are your plans to 10x your online?
I mean, online is to the roof. We've seen a growth of 66% year after year. So we started going online only 10 years ago.
And where do you ship? Worldwide?
No, we only ship through Canada.
Okay.
And we started 10 years ago, and I gotta say, my dad didn't believe in online. It's nobody's gonna buy a pair of shoes without trying them on. See that mentality? That was crazy. So I wish we started before, and I wish we would have started collecting data before, because today the companies that rule the world own the data. You guys own the data. You guys rule the world in merchant. See? So all the big companies, Amazon, they own the data of all the, I think 32 million Canadian bought something on Amazon, so they own your data. So I wish I would have started before, but online's been scaling like crazy. So when we started, we used to ship out 2,000 packages. Now we're shipping out 75,000 packages.
This per month?
No, per year.
Okay.
And the goal is to get to 150 by next year. So we're always doubling every year.
But I understand also your father's point of view. Going to buy a shoe online, if you haven't tried it, what if it's not your size? It's not, then you have to return it. It becomes a headache. I get that part too,
But between me and you, we sell branded footwear, Converse, Nike, etc. So you own probably a pair of Converse or a pair of Nike.
Your shoe size.
You know your shoe size. Most people know, right? And with return policies, and we have 30 stores across Quebec. People usually buy online and then return to the store if they need to change the size. So that's what's coming up. We're changing all our systems now to be more efficient. We're moving to a Shopify platform. So that's how we're gonna keep scaling, I think. Investing a lot in digital marketing. There's a lot of things coming up, getting to know who's your consumer, retargeting them. People want advertising. They just want something that's targeted to them, right? So if you like to buy a certain brand and I send you a shoe sell on a woman's shoe, you might just unfollow or unsub, and then I won't get your attention. But I mean, we look at great retailers like Simon's in Quebec. What they do is amazing, and they have this great loyalty program. And if you buy something from Simon, a few days later you'll get an email, hey, you want to complete your look, get this pair of pants. If you bought this pair of this shirt. And they're doing it in a great way. So that's what we're looking into. We're changing our POS system. We're changing our ERP systems to be more efficient and collect data. We're putting in some systems in store like beacons to control the traffic and knowing who these consumers are, so we can retarget them. So people want to know about sales. They want to know, but about things that interest them. So it's about personalized advertising, as you guys know, and that's where we're going to go. So we got to this point with very minimal investments online. Our reach online is crazy, and it's organic. People associate Rubino with shoes, so most people just type in Rubino on Google, or they just put our domain name. That's like 80% of our visitors. Last year we had 7 million visitors. We didn't do 7 million unique sales. So a lot of people go online, pre-shop, and then go to the stores. You see, like I was looking at Friday, I had 21,000 visitors on my website July 19, but I didn't do 21,000 sales. You know. So a lot of people pre-shop online, and then they'll go to Terrebonne, they'll go to Rubino and Laval, they'll go. So there's a lot of pre-shopping online. So you've got to have a catalog online. The thing is, my catalog changes every season, so it's a lot of maintenance. People think online is very cheap. It's not very cheap. You need to take a picture of every single shoe. You need to have a guy cleaning them up, uploading to the platform. There's a lot of
video guy like we saw from Filmfolio, right?
A video guy. Yeah, Filmfolio, great guy, great kid.
Right.
So there's so much like to do, and we have a company that does all our content creation today, which is House of Youth. So if you look at what we do on Instagram on Rubino Shoes, it's very cool. I think people now, like, we've changed our branding and our image, and our clientele is becoming a bit younger. So we're not aiming the 18 to 25. We're not like teens but we're looking at like 25 to 35, like the young mother with 2 kids that wants to buy like brands at a fair price. We're not trying to be the cheapest. We try to give value to our consumer. And I think like a lot of people want a deal today. So they're always looking at our website, at our Facebook page. I mean, we started a Facebook page and we've got 56,000 followers to this day. So a lot of reach on our posts. The people that manage our social are like, it's crazy. You guys post a shoe and you get all kinds of likes. People love shoes, especially women. I mean, so when they come to a store, it's an experience, right? They get to try like 20 pairs of shoes.
But you don't have Louboutin or anything like that, right?
Excuse me?
You don't have like Louboutin, anything like that?
No, that's very high end, right?
Okay.
We're not in the very end. We're in like a mid-tier.
Okay.
And do you offer consumers cheaper prices than if they were to go to the normal store?
We're always running sales, put it this way. So obviously we have to have an edge, and we're a destination. So we're not a mall-based store where we count on the foot traffic. So we got to give a reason to drive to the store. So yeah, we're running a lot of sales, but our margins are pretty good, and we do a big volume.
Good.
And if it wasn't for the empire that your family built, with your father in the shoe business, would you have been in the shoe business, or did you have any projects of your own?
That's a great question. I mean, I love the shoe business, and when I left for 2 years, as I told you guys, I worked for 2 years in litigation in a law firm. I missed that industry. It's always changing. There's always a new season coming up. It's evolving like crazy. There's always new materials, new new brands that come up. Some brands that were dead 5 years ago are the hottest thing today. You can see, like, I love the fashion industry, but I also like retail because you're close to the people. You deal with people all the time, and you deal with employees. It's challenging, but at the same time, you got that human contact. People come in a store to buy a pair of shoes and they'll tell you the whole life, where you don't really get when you're working an office job, 9 to 5. So I needed to be in contact with a lot of people. We have about 600 employees today. I know almost all of them. I go around the stores. I'm really the face of the company in the sense that I'm not the pretty face. My brother's a prettier guy, but I'm the contact. I'm the bridge between the family and the stores. So to me, like I wouldn't see myself doing something else, but I do have a background, and it was almost like, you know, an exit plan that if it doesn't work out in retail, because you guys know retail is hard, like I could always go back and practice law in a way or another, whether it's in a business or for myself.
That's good. So on behalf of both of us, for sure, we love getting inspired, motivated early. We had a conversation regarding you being sober in the last 12 months, 2 years or something like that.
So 445 days today. So it's a little, let's say, soon a year and 3 months.
Okay. And why, if you could share that story, what happened?
Great question. It's a good story, actually. It comes to show also sometimes how, you know, being in business with family can be really impactful. So, you know, I've been struggling with addiction for maybe 4 years before stopping. I've been, you know, sometimes you get success and success gets to you. 2013, record year for us, money's good, and sometimes you lose yourself. You start thinking about things that are less important, and you want to be out on the scene, and you start going out a bit too much. And I lost myself for a little bit, and I became self-centered, selfish, and I wasn't really there for my family. And I think, like, with the support of my family and wanting to do a change, I was lucky enough that my family gave me a break and they put me through a therapy home, so rehab. And I talk about it openly because, you know, today I'm very well, and I had the grace in the sense that I don't have any obsessions, or I don't want to go back to that lifestyle. So I'm able to be someone for somebody. I'm able to share with a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling with some sort of addiction, whether it's gambling, drugs, alcohol. And when they hear about somebody that was able to, you know, overcome this disease, because it is a disease, guys. You know, I have a disease. I'm addicted. I like everything in excess. You know, once I start shopping, I go crazy. You know, those are behaviors that you'll see in a lot of addicts, being an excessive person. So, I mean, I wanted to make a change. I wanted to be, you know, honest. I wanted to stop lying to myself and lying to others. And I wanted to show also by talking about it that, you know, there is a dark side into being in business. There's a lot of pressure. Once you have success, well, nobody remembers your past success. It's what you're doing today. I felt a bit like a one-hit wonder. You know, when you pull out that song and it's global, but then, you know, the struggle when you have to do that second single or that second album and nobody remembers you. Like, it's very tough to live to those standards, and you always want to succeed. So there was a lot of pressure there, and, you know, you lose yourself. Fortunately, I had the support of my family. I put myself through therapy, and I was able to overcome it, and still being involved with different fraternities, giving back, sharing my story. That's all through the healing process. The more you talk about it, the more you stay away from those behavior, the more, you know, you need a lot of humility to admit that you have a problem, but there's no shame. So I'm not ashamed about it. I think that there's no failure. There's only feedback. And I would still do the same thing because it made me the person that I am today, stronger, more focused. I have young entrepreneurs that I mentor, and, you know, we look at that and how giving to others is so important. I mean, this culture that is going around now is about helping others, and by helping others, you're really helping yourself. And that's why we're involved in so many different businesses. And like I said, Mr. Puffs, we have some young partners that are in their 20s. They look up to me. So I gotta give them the proper information. I gotta tell them the truth. I can't just, you know, lie and say, you know, business is so great and working for yourself is the best. There's like ups and downs. And it's tough.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
An emotional roller coaster, and sometimes you have a bad season. Of
course,
it has an impact on your emotion. So it's how to control and being more in control of my emotion and my state and my behavior, rather than using. So to me, it was refocusing. It was more like working on myself rather than on the consumption. Whatever I was taking to numb and feel better, now I don't have that. So look at it as you walk home tonight and you had a crazy day at work, and the first thing you want to do is psst, or you want to have a glass of wine. So I need to find other things to take the edge off.
You replace a habit with another habit, basically.
A bad habit with a good habit.
Yeah.
So,
And for a lot of people that are watching right now that do consume and they want to get better, they want to replace the bad habits with good habits. What do you recommend? Is it they have to be careful who they surround themselves with? Go to meetings? What do you recommend? What's your advice?
that's a very good question. I mean, until that person admits that they have a problem, it's going to be very hard to start making a change. And I would say, I would recommend just talking about it. Talk about it with anybody, with your family, with your spouse, with a friend that you trust. Mm-hmm. To me, la conversation, by talking, that's when I really started changing, because before that, you're always lying and hiding, that little problem. You don't want to show that you have a weakness. But to me, it's a strength. And when you talk about it, obviously the surroundings, bad influences, being Montreal is like any other big city. There's sometimes bad people that have the bad intention. Staying away from that. There's so many good therapy homes, and there's also meetings every day in every city. There's probably a meeting right now. There's meetings at noon. If you work and you can't go at night, there's meetings for addicts at noon. There's AAs, NAs, Narcotic Anonymous, CAs. There's so many different fraternities, and just admitting and listening to other people share, and that's when you start realizing, hey, I do have a problem, and I do want to improve, and I do want to become a better person, and I want to stop suffering. That's the main thing, because most people suffer, and they make other people suffer around them, their families, their spouses, their kids. And I've seen a lot of success through meetings and therapy. I've seen a lot of guys come in and they thought their whole life was over, and it's like a rebirth. We're like phoenixes. We were born from our ashes. And again, it's a disease, right? So it's a disease that most people don't know that they have. And you got to remind yourself that you're an addict.
Did you have somebody that was always there for you, to help you go through this addiction?
Like a mentor.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. In the fraternities, we call that a sponsor.
Yeah.
So I do have a sponsor, and he's actually very successful in business. And I was attending a meeting, and I heard this guy share his story, and he's like a life coach, and he's very good. And I heard his name is Joe. Hi, Joe. So it's anonymous, but I can say his first name. Hey. And he's very successful, and I heard him share, and I was like, I want to have what this guy has. He's very spiritual. Like, the disease is both physical, mental, and spiritual. So the program is very spiritual. It's not religious, but it's spiritual. And this guy was very spiritual. There was something about this person that I just wanted to have. So by going to a meeting and hearing this person share, that was over a year ago, and asking him for help and sponsoring, and we did a step work together through the big book, which is the AA book, and that was very liberating. You kind of cleanse yourself, and it's a way of life. It's a program. They call that a program, and I started putting the program a little more in my life, and I'm far from being perfect, but when I see those behaviors that bring me back to the old person, I can realign or say I'm sorry. If I'm impulsive, I try to make a difference where I can. And I don't go to people and say, hey, you have a problem, call me. People come to me now, and they see that I'm doing well, and they just come to you and they ask for help. And this happened to me on Thursday. Somebody that has a business, and they came to me saying, it was 5 a.m. and I have this problem and I can't stop. Can you help? And I just took the whole day off just to be there for somebody. And I put this person through rehab. So as we speak, this person is in therapy.
Good, man.
And that's really, I'm really proud because I had an impact on somebody's life, and I didn't put myself first. I put others, and just I feel like
That's beautiful.
makes me a better person.
Absolutely.
And you know, I talk about it today not because I want to brag that hey, I've overcome. In a sense, it's if it can help anybody, and somebody's gonna wake up and say,
And if you could do it, somebody else could
exactly. If I did it, anybody could do it. And I've seen a lot of success stories through this process. Some people that, hey, today they're doing amazing. I have a lot of friends today that are from that background, and they're in recovery, and they're doing amazing. So those are my new friends, really, the people that I hang out with. And you'd be surprised how, you know, there's no boundaries for addiction. It doesn't mean that you have to be a junkie on St. Catherine. There's business owners, there's professionals, pharmacists, lawyers. There's all kinds of people.
A lot of celebrities like Bradley Cooper. Shout out to Bradley Cooper, season 4. 11 years sober. Yeah.
I mean, those were very impactful in my life when I saw Grant Cardone talking about addiction, when I saw so many people talking about overcoming this. To me, I'm very well today, and I have no ideas that, hey, you know what, I want to have a drink or I want to go back to my old me. I'm doing so well that I want to stay on this path. I never want to go back to where I came from. So there's a lot of suffering beneath all that.
So if you want to have a drink, what do you do? A virgin?
Guys,
virgin
there's
drink?
so many tricks. There's a book called Vivre sans alcool. And, you know, if I go to a 5 à 7, which I did when there was the Nick and Jimmy 5 à 7 at Bordel, man, I had like a Red Bull and I had soda water, and people see you with a glass in your hand, so they don't offer you a shot because they think you're already having a drink. So I guess people know today, most people don't ask me, but it still happens, you know, once in a while. Hey, let's have a shot, let's have a drink. I like to be honest. You don't have to be. You can say, hey, I'm sick, I'm taking antibiotics, I can't have a drink, or I'm taking a little break. It's an allergy. I'm allergic to alcohol. When I take a drink, I'll have a reaction and I'll become a different person. It's just like being allergic to nuts. You know, that person that's allergic to peanut butter, tomorrow morning can't say, you know what, I'll have a nice toast with peanut butter. There's very good chances they'll end up in a hospital. And that's what's gonna happen to me, slowly and progressively. And I just try to stay away from that. And I feel freaking great. I'm ready. I'm there for my daughter who's 4. I'm there for my staff, for the company, for my family. We have so many projects coming ahead.
More energy.
I have more energy. My head is clear. That feeling of being hangover. I'm 33, so it takes me a bit more time to recover than I did before. So I'm glad I just stopped completely, and I'm more focused. I can have I do better life choices, I started training a little bit, I do activities, I connect with nature, I go on the lake, I do kayak, all things that I wasn't doing before. So if you ask me, before I would sit down and have a drink with friends, you know, now I read more, I just, you know, becoming a better person.
Yeah, I noticed you were reading the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
That's right. Yeah.
What's your opinion on that book?
It's amazing because in reality, it comes to show you how some people try to escape their problems. Absolutely. And in reality, you should just face your problems. And they say in the book that everybody's going to have problems. And if you have the mentality of saying, hey, you know what, I have a problem, it's going to come, there's going to be a problem, and I'm just going to overcome it, and seeing the glass being half full instead of half empty, like everybody has problems. And sometimes because you're scared that a problem is going to come, you refrain yourself from doing something because you're just like, and then you're stuck in that circle. Anyways, it's something like that. I don't know if it made sense what I just said, but the book is like, it was really, really interesting. Not what I thought it would be when I started reading, but it was really interesting.
Yeah,
So.
I received that as a Christmas gift. I still didn't open it, so it's on my list.
Yeah, it's really funny, but it's really good.
When you were 6 or 7 years old, your dad would make you work after school. Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So I'm so thankful because as a child, my dad gave us the value of work, and for me, nothing comes easy. So he put us through work. I used to come home from school and he'd be like, let's have supper, and then he would drive us to a store. And on the weekends, in summer, and that's when I became more social, right? So I was on the floor serving clients at a very young age. I started using the POS system and just opening up. Because I used to be kind of shy. So working in retail is great. If you can put your kids through retail, it's freaking great. We have a lot of 16, 17-year-old, 15-year-olds that work as part-time jobs. It's just great because you got to communicate with people and you got to sell yourself and a product. And it was just great. So I learned the value of work. And my dad taught me one thing. He's like, when I started working inside the store, he's like, you got to be the number one salesman today. I'm going to look at your sales. And you got to broom and you got to do the mop and you got to... So I asked him, I go, but am I the only one working? Don't we have like employees? And he's like, so you didn't understand anything. If you want to be the leader and you want to be the next president, well, you got to know how to do everything. And when you start showing and leading by example, others are going to start doing it. And you're going to see the next time, before you grab the mop, somebody else is going to start running and grab the mop. And that's exactly what happened. I was working in a store and I went in the back, filled up the bucket, and I started mopping the floor. And like employees were like, what is he doing? So they started running and they're like, no, let me do it. I'm like, no, it's okay. And I did it. And he just showed me like, how to be a leader. It's not to tell others what to do, rather than just doing it and learning how to do everything, and you don't depend on others. So my dad is very hands-on.
Does he still work? Your father?
He's still involved in the real estate, and you'll see him on like le chantier. You'll see him there, and he's digging, or he's there and he's telling people what to do, but he's there and he still gets his hands dirty, and he just turned 60. He's not going to stop. He's never going to stop. And that's how he works. He thinks that you got to be there and you got to be involved and you got to do it yourself. So I learned that value as a child. So to me, I know that money doesn't come easy. I never had anything just given to me, and that's one thing that my dad did very well. So I know that my daughter, I know what I'm going to buy her for Christmas. I'm going to buy her a little mop so she can start mopping the floor. I think that was a good value. It's a very good value to have, the value of work.
Very nice.
And you guys just recently celebrated 30 years in business.
That's right.
What do you plan to make as a change, if any, to be in business for the next 30 years to build an empire for your family?
That's a great question. We're going to start collecting data. We're moving to like loyalty programs and having even a better selection, a better in-store experience. So we're looking at a lot of the in-store experience, how we can make it better, and also online. With Shopify, it's going to be very personalized. If you have some preference, when you open up the website, it's going to show up with your preferences. So in store, it's really hard to do, right? So right now, what we're doing is digitalize our stores, the brick and mortar stores. So we're going to see how that plays out, but I think it's going to be very exciting. They're going to be, very tip top. I think the experience is going to be very different.
Good.
I think that's how we're going to stay relevant. It's really hard to stay relevant.
Of course.
You
In
can
the
be
US
a hero
eventually?
today, and tomorrow you're a nobody.
Expansion in the US eventually? Or
We're
what's
not
that?
interested with the US market, but like Canada, like maybe the Maritimes, maybe some places like that.
Got it. Cool.
Look into it.
And for anybody that's looking to get involved in the shoe business or in commercial real estate, because you guys are also in the real estate business, do you have any piece of advice you can give them?
Don't do it. No.
He doesn't want a competitor.
Exactly. There's so many competitors already. No, you can start really small, and there's a lot of niche retailers today that are doing phenomenal. If you have a very niche clientele and you find a need in the industry and you do it differently and you can be very cool, there's a lot of little stores that open up like that, and even commercial, you can start with one, you refinance, get your money back, do a second property, find a good tenant, try to stay away from mom and pop shops that open and close. Try cutting a deal with a good chain or a franchise or a retailer that makes sense, or even opening it your own. So I'd say if you start in retail today, try owning your real estate. It's not easy, right? But you'll pay rent for yourself. Whatever you're making is for yourself. 10, 15 years from now, your building is going to be paid for. You own that property. You can remortgage it, buy a second one, put a second store. If we would have started doing that sooner, it would be even bigger than it is today. I don't believe in paying crazy rent and being a mall-based store. And then you're competing with all these other big, massive retailers, and they know what they're doing, and they have the funds for marketing and for whatever. So, you know, open up a little store in a suburban area where there's not a lot of competition, and you find like a niche, a demand for something, and you have to become the best, and then you can think about expanding. But stay away from my stores.
Yeah.
Competition is very good. Competition is very good.
Well,
forces you
collaboration
to do
now.
better.
Competition now becomes collaboration. We're in an age
We
of
do a lot
collaboration.
of collabs, and I like to support like local businesses.
That's right.
That's why I'm involved with Desjardins, and I sit on the board as an advisor because they help out. Like they helped us out when we started. None of the big banks wanted to finance our projects, and Desjardins did. So they help out a lot of the beginners, the starters. I like to help local foundations through my gala. I organize like a fundraiser, and I like to give to local foundations like that need like the support. So like try to stay in local and help local and buy local. Everybody's gonna be better.
Angelo, thank you so much for taking the time today to be on our show.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
For anybody watching the show today and wants to hear more success stories just like Angelo's, remember to follow the Nick and Jimmy Show, Instagram, Facebook, we're everywhere, YouTube, and follow Angelo. Angelo, what's your Instagram?
So my Instagram is Ang_Rubino, or you can follow our business page, Rubino Shoes. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn too, Angelo Rubino. So thank you guys. It was a great time.
Thank you for being on the
Thank
show.
you very
We
much.
appreciate it.
If you could just share your favorite quote.
My favorite quote. I like a quote by Henry Ford. It used to be on our wall at the office before we renovated, and it goes like this: obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. So just keep your eyes on the goal, and to get back to that subtle art of not giving a fuck is, you know, keep your eyes on the goal. There's going to be problems, but if you stay focused on your goal, there's no reason why we won't succeed.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.